Another game we beat this year was WarCraft 3,
Which
Reign of Chaos.
I shocked myself with that one just because I've owned that game forever, and I honestly didn't think that would be a game that I would beat. Just because it's one of those games that just kind of like you play it, you have fun with it, and then you put it down and you never go back to it. Kind of like Planescape Torment. Like, maybe it's because the work I was doing at the time was super brain dead repetitive work and I needed something to challenge my brain. But I picked up WarCraft 3 right where I left off and just ran with it, and I couldn't put it down. And before I knew, I beat it. Typically, if it's based in a fantasy world, the story has to be extra engaging for me to even care. And WarCraft 3 was very hard to take serious because it didn't even take itself serious. It has lots of in-game jokes, that's very much Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't really take itself serious. I'm not saying that every fantasy has to be dark and edgy, but at the same time, the story didn't really grab me. What grabbed me about WarCraft 3 is how awesome of a job they did making it a action RPG / RTS. I would say that it most definitely is more of an RTS than an action RPG, but there is a ton of elements in the game that make it similar to an action RPG, which when I play WarCraft 3, it makes absolute total sense why someone decided to mod it and came up with Dota and then gave birth to the MOBA genre where we've got Dota, League of Legends, and that whole genre came from WarCraft 3. Oftentimes while playing the campaign, if I only had one hero, if I had two heroes, this was a different scenario. But if I had only one hero, it was very common for me to kind of micromanage my troops at home base and then send my hero out to do all the offensive work to try to level him up. Now, granted, the game kind of holds you back a little bit in that regard because they put a level cap. But that was still a strategy that I often implemented is I would play my heroes as an action RPG and then do my base management like an RTS. And I think one of the reasons why RTSs are dying is because a lot of these companies are constantly moving away from base management and moving instead towards like the Total War series where it's formation management and army management. You know, like you're given a set army and you are in charge of making sure that they're like on the terrain, like terrain affects the combat and stuff like that, and formation affects the combat. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, the less complicated the RTS is as far as troop management, the more enjoyment I get out of it. And that's one of the reasons why I really like StarCraft. And it's really nice that a lot of those maps could be beaten within about an hour. You know, so it's like I come home from work, I'm tired, got homework to do, want to relax a little bit. Well, let's spend an hour playing WarCraft 3. And then before I knew it, I beat it. I think where the game succeeds the most is actually in the colors. Let's say if they turned it into a Call of Duty palette where everything's gray, brown, and black, and it's not green. Those polygons would have looked horrible. But the fact that their color usage really helped make those polygons and those textures pop, I think is what makes it graphically look so good. Their color usage basically takes all those low polygon counts and turns it into something beautiful. And it's very nice to look at even to this day. In fact, funny story, when I first moved to Iowa and I was living in a crappy apartment and I had this cheap Windows XP laptop. You talk about a potato, that thing was a toasted potato. But WarCraft 3 was a game that I loved to play on it because it made me feel like I was playing a gaming computer. Even though that laptop absolutely sucked. Had I think it was like an Intel Celeron Duo, something crappy, something really cheap that would be like $200 at Walmart. I'd play that game purposefully just because it was such a pretty game that it made me feel like I was playing a high-end PC gaming computer. It was like one of my favorite games to play. And then I also had my speakers plugged into it and got in trouble because the neighbor below me heard WarCraft 3 through the ceiling and called my landlord. But what's cool about WarCraft 3 is it's kind of the pinnacle of Blizzard before the downfall. After WarCraft 3, then Blizzard developed World of Warcraft, and they made so much money off of World of Warcraft that all of a sudden they became, instead of being this little company based in California that made great games, all of a sudden they became like a monopoly for MMOs. Instead of it being product-oriented to being profit-oriented. What I always liked about Blizzard games was just, with both Diablo 2 and WarCraft 3, and heck, even StarCraft, this is how well those games are optimized. You can take StarCraft, in fact, I do it today. You can take my Windows 95 copy of StarCraft, put it in a Windows 10 CD drive, well, if you're lucky to have a computer with an optical drive, install it, and as soon as you're done installing it, boot it up and play it off the CD on Windows 10, and it works flawless. How many games can do that? Besides that one, I can't think of other PC games that do that. I don't know what Blizzard did, but their games are so well optimized and they run on anything. They're like the Doom of RTSs. You just put it on anything, it'll work. But where I truly felt like Blizzard just dropped the ball is when they started going service-based. And that started with World of Warcraft because they made so much money off of it. And then when they went to Overwatch, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. I have an R9 390X in my computer and it served me very well. I'm very happy with that graphics card. But as soon as I installed Overwatch on that, man, that thing got hot. I was just like, what happened, Blizzard? You guys used to be like the king of programming. You can make a game and it'd play on anything. And now you make games and you're lucky if it doesn't crash. I'm very disappointed with the direction that Blizzard's gone, and I think that Warcraft 3 is a great reminder of how far Blizzard has fallen. What's cool about Warcraft 3 is that as you're playing it, it does a good job of teaching you the nuances and the abilities of your heroes through a single player experience by each level limiting what you can do. So instead of giving you just, here's your army, here's all your options, here's all your spells, like, League of Legends does, go have fun, and just being completely overwhelmed, so then you sit there like on your phone Googling every little item trying to figure out what in the world this spell does, what does this item do, when is a good way to do it. You're just completely lost without some kind of outside guide or help. Old Blizzard North, they did a fantastic job of using storytelling to act as a tutorial for you to get better at the game. It's a great reminder of how to take the complicated and make it simple, which I've heard it said in the past, that's the sign of true geniusness. Being able to make the complicated simple.
How would you rate Warcraft 3?
I would definitely give it a 9.5. I think it is an amazing RTS/RPG hybrid. Anyone who enjoys action RPGs will like it, and anyone who enjoys RTSs will like it, and I think it does a great job of being good at both without just being mediocre at both. I think is a testament of how good Blizzard was back in the day.